What's good, Internet? You are now listening to Final Boss versus the World podcast with me, your bizarre and boisterous host, the Mighty Shields. And on this episode, I'm going to give you a little bit of a filler episode. I'm going to actually introduce you to some of the things that I'm going to start implementing on not only this podcast, but also my YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, just know there's an audio version that can be found on Spotify. If you are listening to this, the audio version, just know that on YouTube, you're going to see my beautiful black face. But other than that, man, we're going to talk about raising the nerd, aka raising my son Landon, the mini Shields. We're going to talk about some MCU. We're going to talk a little bit about what else I got on these show notes. Oh, little Pokemon DLC, my little late ass review for that. But other than that, man, let's get right into it. Episode 16 of Final Boss versus the World podcast with me, your bizarre and boisterous host, the Mighty Shields, aka Thickness Night, aka Thick Boys for Life, aka Thick Thighs Save Lives, aka the Hulk Buster, aka Larry Lettuce, aka Legs Linguini, aka I forgot my other aka Sorcerer Supreme. We back. How y'all doing out there? Huh? It's been a long time since I did one of these video versions of the podcast. Again, if you're watching this, you can listen to the audio version on Spotify. You can listen to it on Apple iTunes. More specifically, if you listen to it on Apple iTunes, make sure you rate it 5 stars or just rate it. Just rate it anyway. It just helps me get discovered. It puts me in the algorithm, lets you know that I'm doing the best that I can do. But hey, what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about, I got my show notes here. We're going to be talking about the income changes to the channel. Perfect. But before I get into that, let's give some shout outs. As you know, us small podcasters, us small YouTubers, us small streamers, we got to sit together. And before I start my thing, before I do anything else, I like to pay tribute or give a shout out to them. And we're going to start off by giving a shout out to Anything Period Podcast. We're going to start off with HTO Nerd Talks. We're going to talk about Blurred Over. We're going to talk about Blurred Corner. We're going to talk about Bustellos and Cigarellos. They all are on YouTube. You can find them all on YouTube. And if you don't see them on there, you can listen to audio versions on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Radio Republic, all them joints. But again, here we are. Incoming changes to the channel. I've noticed that on my, not only on my YouTube, but on my podcast, I've become much like a little bit of a generalist or like a jack of all trades, master of none type person. I just talk about a little bit about everything. And I know that on Final Boss in particular, that I knew I was going to be tackling a bunch of different subjects, and that won't change here. But as far as my YouTube is concerned, I may try to narrow that down because I'm playing a little bit of everything. If you don't know, I'm a gamer. If you don't know, I'm a podcast. Well, you know now I'm a podcast because you listen to this, you're watching this. But I love to do things that I love to do. Surprise, surprise. And I love to share those with people. And one thing that I've learned outside of slapping my mic is that when people subscribe to your channel, when people come for a certain thing, they want to continue seeing that thing. And it's all feeling, at some point I'll get to the point where I could just record whatever I want, and I'm only speaking towards YouTube, and just keep going with that. But for now, I'm just going to stick to my roots, stick to fighting games and action adventure games, and then we'll just go from there. I won't stray from that one too much. But again, that's Final Boss versus the World on YouTube. That's me. Actually, that's a little bit wonky. If you want to find me on there, just type in the Mighty Shields versus and my icon should pop up. We're still trying to get that straightened out. But as far as this podcast is concerned, I found myself marketing this in the beginning as a video game or anime podcast, a solo cast that talked about all things geek and culture. And that's still going to remain. But I found myself being more comfortable with talking about my experiences and life and just things in general, like my personal stories, all through the lens of a black nerd or a nerd in general, and that seems to be like my pocket right now, and I think people are really drawn to that because I would say a great majority of the people that listen to my podcast or watch my videos don't necessarily come to me or come to my channel for video games at this point in time. They want to hear me tell my stories. They want to hear me talk. And for you that is new to this channel, or you just seeing this video, you might like, hey, what stories you got to tell? I got a lot of them, and I'm good at telling them. So, and that, I'm not good at finessing this mic, so to speak, but I'm gonna get better at that too. But all of this is the journey, and like I said from the very episode, once I start making changes to the algorithm, to my algorithm, that I was gonna let the people know, and that's what I'm doing here. But as far as videos are concerned, on my YouTube channel, expect to see more of this. Expect to see more video podcasts. Let me be honest about Pokemon, that Pokemon gaming series. That might be we might sunset that, just due to the fact that the ship has kind of sailed on that. And while I have finished that game, I'm going to probably transition into Wi-Fi battles. That's where my heart is right now, competitive. And once I get these damn Joy-Cons back, because I had to send them in to Nintendo, thank God they fixing those. I had to send both of them. I had to send both my right stick and my left stick in because I got that drag. I've had my Switch for more than 2 years, so it's out of warranty, but they're gonna take care of your boy. But moving on, before I get into my first topic, I know I keep setting up these roadblocks before you get to the meat and potatoes of what you want to get to, but it's just a shout out to y'all for messing with your boy, for letting me be me, let me get this off my chest, and let me talk to you every week. Every Thursday a new podcast is out, and hopefully every Thursday a video companion will be out here with it. But let's see. Let's go to my first topic here. We're gonna talk about I was just talking about Pokemon. Let's get into that. My review of the game. I'll keep it short and sweet. It was fun. It wasn't nothing challenging by any means. I would say the most challenging part was navigating the story, and let me elaborate on what I mean by that. There's dialogue where I don't want dialogue, just straight up. I've been playing Pokemon for more than 20 years. You can only tell the same story so much, and that's not a fault of the design. That's not a fault of the people that created the game, because again, they got to create a game that appeals to the masses, to the new players. Me being a vet, I know what Pokemon is. I know what this is about. Just let me do what I need to do so I can get to the end game, so I can start IV training, EV training. But needless to say, it was a fun game, and I see a lot of people complaining about the Pokemon that were in it, or Pokemon that are not in it. And I would say on the other podcast that I work with, Salt Happens podcast, I mentioned the fact that there would be some DLC, and you'll get your legacy Pokemon back, and it's gonna be at a premium because, first of all, we knew that they were already in the game. People had already data mined that they were already in the game, so they were coming. But I think this just goes to show, like, yo, that thing that happened with Sonic the Hedgehog, where you complain, and then they took it back and made it right on their dime, that's 1 in a million that happened. That's the only time I can think of that's actually happened. So now, you want new stuff, or you want the old stuff, you got to pay for it. So I don't have an issue paying $30 for the content, because I think it's well worth the DLC. And as a matter of fact, I think this format is the best that it's ever been, just due to the fact that they can keep expanding on it without making you buy another game, spend another $15-$20 on getting a brand new title. Because if they did it like they used to did it without doing these updates, you'd be buying another $60 cartridge, and I'm not doing that. Not in 2020. I'm not doing that. I will pay DLC if I deem it necessary, or if I deem that I want that, but I'm not paying for a new cartridge of the same game. Looking at you, Street Fighter Championship Edition, Street Fighter Ultra Edition, Street Fighter Tournament Edition. Hey, Definitive Edition, or just make minor updates. And to their credit, they have listed out included updates. But again, my ship has sailed on Street Fighter 5. That's neither here nor there. But I mean, all in all, Pokemon was fun. What I'd say, is it a must buy? If you're a Pokemon fan, if you love Pokemon, yeah. I mean, you're not missing out on anything by not playing it, so to speak. I mean, there's like a lot of gimmicks and the Dynamax I think people had an issue with, but for all intents and purposes, it's a Pokemon game. So it was fun. It's fun. So on my grading scale of yes, no, or meh, it's a yes. I would say yes. If you here's a better thing. If you've got a friend that's kind of into Pokemon that bought it, chances are they're probably either trying to sell it to GameStop or it's just sitting collecting dust. And just holler at them, be like, yo, let me holler at that for a little bit. They'd be more than happy to take that off your hands, because I don't think people like them aren't playing to play competitive. And I say that with very specific reference because I have a group of friends and two of them are in that state of being right now. So just, hey man, just roll with the punches. It is what it is. I love that game. I love Pokemon, so I'm gonna continue to pay for Pokemon things. That's it. I have a dream of buying a life-size Lapras pillow. I have a dream of buying a big Snorlax pillow so I could just fall back on it. But I think we're gonna be all right. Pokemon fans, just buy the game. I don't think this what's it called? Dexit necessary. It doesn't solve. That leads into a different discussion that I'm just gonna bring up the topic, and we're gonna talk about this in another podcast because I got a whole list of things I want to talk about, but we're gonna get into that either. Yo, you boycotting? People don't know what boycott means nowadays, and we're gonna get into that in a different discussion. And I'll dive deeper into that in like I said, a different episode. But you boycotting the way you're boycotting now is not boycotting. It's like you're not paying for it. So what? Other people are. Hold that thought. Dog ear that. So let's see. MCU. I'm a MCU fan. I'm a Marvel fan. I've always liked Marvel over DC, over Image, all those dark horses. I loved it. I've always loved Marvel. My boy back here hanging up. I got a whole Marvel poster in the background that you can't see. But I think right now that's this little Pokemon. I'm still stuck on that. This Marvel hiatus, so to speak, that we're on. That's kind of like that stopgap in between Endgame and lost my train of thought. Between Endgame and the Disney Plus series. I think it's a longer gap than we expected. And then to hear that the first show for that Marvel Plus is going to be WandaVision, I'm kind of like, But I think in all, we have a little things in between that kind of hold us over. Like we have the Black Widow movie coming out, that looks to be better than I thought it would be. Spoiler alert, Black Widow died. So I don't know how they're going to play this off or play with this. So we'll just keep rocking that. I don't know, man. I missed the Marvel proper. That little bit of scare that we had when Spider-Man left the MCU and then came back within the month is like, whoo! It was like I needed that security blanket back of Spider-Man. And then like we see Robert Downey Jr. in all these interviews, and he's talking about like he wouldn't mind coming back and this and that. And I'm just, yo, what is going on? What is this pandering stuff that's going on right now? Can we let them be them? It's like he comes out with a whole new movie, and then it's just like, yo, but Iron Man though, and he's like, but I'll talk to animals, and he's like, but Iron Man though, Joe Rogan, Iron Man though, I'll write the script. Whatever. I shouldn't bring up Joe Rogan's name because I love that dude, man. I don't know him personally, obviously, but I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, a big inspiration to why I do this. But man, let RDJ live, man. Let him live. Let him do movies. Let him do other things. Let him be Sherlock if he wants to. But again, this little MCU drought is really showing me how much those movies took up a great portion of my movie going experience. Like I don't have any desire to see really anything else. I'm not clamoring to go see anything in the theaters. Like, I'm not running out my house to go see stuff. So, like I did with Marvel movies anyway. So it's just, I don't know. It's kind of a lull for me. I will tell you what has been taking its place for me. Mandalorian on Disney Plus, very good series in my opinion, and that's due to the fact that it's on a smaller scale. So it's not the galaxy at risk. It's like this small portion of this area, and it's not even an area. It's these two individuals' lives that are taking place, and it really is inconsequential. I don't know how to speak. It doesn't matter. Don't judge. I don't know how to say big words. But anyway, inconsequential. Ooh, that boy snapping. To the universe at large. So right now, but there are some elements of it that I really, really love, and things that I'm going to I'm really looking forward to in season 2. And they brought up a concept. I actually learned more about the Mandalorians as a people, as a tribe, and you learned a little bit more about what that entails. And I won't dive into it because I'm going to have Dawn. If you listen to my previous episode where we went into the episode 9 spoilers, then you know she's a big Star Wars head, just like me. And we're going to get into it. We can talk about it. We're going to have fun with it. So I'm going to have her back on to talk about that. Save that. Hopefully the ship don't sell on that. But The Witcher. Oh my God. The Witcher was awesome. It's a jumbled mess, but it was awesome. And I really, really dig what they did with that. I only know the game on the third-hand basis, meaning that I've never played the games. I've never read the books. But because of fighting games and because of Monster Hunter and because of my friends that play the game that are really obsessed with it, I have third-hand knowledge of the series and the order it's supposed to go. And I know what characters look like. I know their names. I know what their motivations are. So I know all that. So I'm well up on that. But I think it was really well done, man. And I think, and it was because of these two shows in particular that I got behind in my anime, and I'm not really motivated to watch anything else this season as far as anime is concerned, because those two kind of held me over. Now I'm just kind of looking for a different anime to watch. May scroll through Netflix and see what they got. If they got anything new that I haven't paying attention to, because generally I stick to Crunchyroll for my anime. But yeah, both good series, man. And I think we're going to talk about that on the Salt Happens podcast. So I won't go too much into that on this episode, but I will talk about it in the future. But let's take a quick water break, and then I'm going to get back to you. Please hold. And we back. So let's get into the last topic of the podcast, and I'm gonna wrap this up. If you're new to this, if you're watching this video, if you're listening at home, just know I'm gonna keep my podcast short and sweet, around the 15 to 30 minute mark, depending on who I have on. Sorry, I had a little water burp there. I had to let that one loose. But let's talk about raising kids while being a nerd. Now I say kids, but I meant singular. I'll have one kid. I have a son. He's about one and a half. He's almost 2. He'll be 2 in March. But the thing about kids is, like, they're smarter than you give them credit for. They're more perceptive than you give them credit for. And I think I was naive to the fact that everything that I was saying had an impression on him. So if I like something, he likes something. If I don't like something, he apparently doesn't like the same thing. And so my obsession for Spider-Man is taking a hold of him, and his mother's, her favorite superhero is Iron Man. And those are his 2 favorites right now, Spider-Man and Iron Man. And it's so uncanny to me that I didn't even process, like, they are just a product of their environment. And it warms my heart that I can read to him storybooks with my favorite superheroes in it, with my favorite universe in it, and he can go down the list and name them. Well, that's Hulk. Well, that's Hulk. That's Hulk. Well, What color is that Hulk? Red. What color is that Hulk? Green. What kind of Hulk is that? That's She-Hulk. It makes me so happy. He knows more superheroes at his age than I knew at 28. It's 2 years ago. And it's we're living in a world in which that it's socially acceptable to be a nerd, and it's something to be proud about. It's something that, you hold dear, and I love it. And because when I was growing up, it wasn't that way, and I was just, stubborn in my own ways. I was just doing what I wanted to do because I did what I like. And now my son is Hulk smashing around the house, and I know superheroes were always on that, like, on the cusp of being a nerd, but they were just cool enough for the quote unquote cool kids like it. But there's gonna be a time where my son likes something that's off the cuff, like that's go against the norm, and I'm gonna do my very best to appreciate that, one, and two, to encourage him to like things that he likes, no matter who likes it and who doesn't. Don't just invest yourself into something because you think other people will like you because you are. And I think the biggest lesson I can teach him in regards to that is just look at me. Look at daddy. Look at you. Look at what I was able to accomplish by being myself. Look what I'm able to do by being myself. Able to sit in front of this camera, talking to this mic, spit into this filter because I spit when I talk, and talk to y'all. And I know it may not seem like much, but to me, that's a big thing. To me, that's me sharing my passion with the rest of the world. And if he's able to get to the point where he's comfortable with that, then I've done my job. Where he's comfortable in his own skin, I think I have done my job as a father. Because as a father, as a parent, all you want to do is protect your kids and their well-being, and it gets into, that'll dive into like their state of being, like a participation trophy. Now, while I don't necessarily disagree with them, I don't actually I'm in the middle on those. Like, I feel like the way kids are built now, they're more in tune with themselves and their emotions than they've ever been. Not especially when I was growing up, where we was told to suppress them or compartmentalize. But I think now, where we want our kids to talk to us, we want our kids to tell us how they feel. It's okay to not feel right. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad. You can cry. Crying is not a boy or girl trait. It's a human trait. And if you're sad, you sad. So cry. And sometimes you just gotta get it out. If you're mad, you mad. Just get it out. And it's just like, when we start getting into the conversation about should kids get this and should kids get that, I think we are looking at it through the lens of how we grew up and how it's quote unquote making our kids soft when that's not the case. And the more and more I talk about it, the more and more I'm thinking, like, maybe they should get those, those trophies for just participating. Because if you think about it, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to step outside your comfort zone and to accomplish a thing. But I like I said, I'm on the fence about it. But again, this is talking about raising a nerd, raising my son. And I think as long as he stays under this roof, as long as I'm raising him, he's going to be just fine. And any other kids that I have. Because in the house that I was raised in, it was fine. So no matter where he goes, family-wise, he will be accepted for liking the things that he likes, for doing the things that he does. And to have that type of loving environment, an environment that, that outside of my immediate family, I didn't really have, I think will do so much for him and my kids. And I want to make sure that they have a beautiful, warm nest to always have that. And some may call that blanketing, some may call that, protecting them from the world. But really, it's just the fact that I feel like and I'm trying to word this in a way that I think, not necessarily that would be accepted, but word this in a way that I think that I can get my point across. if I were growing up in the time, and I'm 31, about to be 32 in April. If I was growing up in a time when I was a kid, so to speak, where I could say, I want to do this. Like, I want to talk into a microphone, into a camera, on the screen, talking about nerd stuff, talking about video games, and not be laughed at, and able to actually look at the deeper parts of that, knowing that, you know, there's a lot of marketing that goes into this. There's a lot of planning that goes into this. You have to have a lot of organizational skills. You got to have the courage. You got to have charisma. You got to have all these things to do the one thing. You know what I mean? It's never just, because just always equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's never just as easy as this. It's never just, and I've always said that to people, and more so recently now. This is like, when you say, oh, you could just do this, or you could just do that, the more you get into anything that you like, anything you get into that you have a passion about, it's never just. There's always little pieces that make the big piece, you know? But like I said, he'll be all right, and I'm gonna be all right raising him, because I was raised right. My wife was raised right. So it's gonna be a journey, man. But hey, did you like this podcast? Did you not? Let me know. Comment down below. Leave me a review on Apple iTunes. Send me an email at mightyshieldsversus@gmail.com. That's mightyshieldsvs@gmail.com. You can send me a DM on Instagram and Twitter at Final Balls Versus. That's Final Balls VS on both platforms, on Instagram and on Twitter. Again, this podcast can be found on Spotify, Radio Republic, Stitcher Radio, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Google Play. Did I say Apple iTunes? Apple iTunes, ain't no problem. But again, if you listen to me on Apple iTunes, help your boy out with a review. Leave a comment. Tell me that I'm messing up. Tell me that you like it. Tell me something, man. I need them 5 stars so your boy can get seen on an algorithm, so I could be on the new and Nerdworthy, so they can let other ears hear this podcast. But hey, if nothing else, make sure you keep your head down. Make sure you keep your head on the swivel. And make sure you root for the Chiefs this Super Bowl Sunday, baby, because we in there February 2nd. The Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl after a 50-year drought. But if nothing else, stay hydrated. Drink that water. We out.